What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel. She is Abby Schnable. I am Noah Hiles. Abby, I know we're supposed to be non-biased journalists here, but before we get into the college sports talk, I got to give a shout-out to my favorite team in the city, the Hounds. Oh, woo! The Hounds. They don't even do that at their games. That's just a calling card of me. Shout out to the River Hounds. You can read our River Hounds coverage. I know Adam Bittner wrote something earlier this week on them, and then Cameron Hoover covered the game, the match, I should say, the 1-0 win over the U.S. or over Columbus Crew in the U.S. Open Cup. I don't know what happened. It was a big win, though, and I'm pumped about it, if
It
you can't
was.
tell.
And
Abby, yeah, what do you got on the
it's
Hounds?
always fun when because the Open Cup pits USL, which is essentially, as I have referred to it to explain it to people, is D2
Yeah.
soccer. Um,
Mhm.
the pits the USL against the MLS, and so it's a cool opportunity to see some of these USL teams like actually ball against I mean they're all professional soccer's, but against what's the
The
best,
highest. Yeah, the
the
best of the
highest
best in
league.
America.
Yeah. And so I love an underdog. Gotta love the Riverhounds. I need to make it out to a game still.
A
Um,
match. They call it match in soccer. You should
they
learn the terms.
call it both as
I know, I'm
someone who
joking.
is actually a soccer fan year round.
How many Hounds matches have you been to?
None, but how many professional soccer games have you been to?
I've been to one this summer. I went to a Riverhounds match. They're professionals. They just beat the
Total?
Columbus Crew. So college sports. We got some Pitt stuff to talk about. We'll start off with that. Papa Kante signs with Pitt. It became official Tuesday. The news broke Monday. He announced his commitment. Another 4-star for Pitt's 2023 high school recruiting class. That's 4 players total, 3 of them 4 stars. All of them, I believe, are in the top 100 players in the country for pretty much across the board in the recruiting sites. Jalen Lowe, Carl Carrington, and now Papa Kante. The 4th one being Marlon Barnes Jr., who's like a top 150 player in the country out of Brush High School in Cleveland. Abby, just first thing, I want to break this down for numerous things. But what's your initial reaction to this? Kind of came out of nowhere. What were you as surprised as everyone else to see that they added a big man this way?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, I think the biggest thing that shocked me is just seeing this. It feels like a mass exodus of people from Michigan, and I know there are a
Yeah.
lot of layers to that. But Hunter Dickinson transferring, Papa Kante now like decommitting. Same with Caleb Love decommitting, and it's just like it's also interesting to me. That was my first impression coming from a Big Ten background. But the next impression, I mean, amazing get. Like this guy's a real good player, really gonna
Yeah.
help Pitt out. But my question is now you've got 4 guys that could potentially start in those 4 and 5 positions, and how
Even
are they gonna get some playing time? Because you got the Diaz Graham twins, you got Fetty, and now you have Papa Kante, and it's just an interesting dynamic because it feels a little overkill. You're just because you have so many, it's so congested now.
Yeah, and there's congestion in 2 ways. It's there's a lot of young guys on this team. When you look, there's 11 players on this roster right now, and 5 of them are freshmen. 4 of them are true freshmen, and then you have Dior Johnson, who hasn't played in a collegiate game yet, but was a redshirt last year. But that's a lot of youth, and it's across the board too. I mean, you have 3 guards, a wing, and a center, and I don't think it's out of the question for any of these guys to be receiving significant playing time. I mean, maybe Barnes doesn't play next year just because Pitt's pretty loaded on the wing with Henson and Austin coming in from High Point. But I don't know. I just look at this, and we'll talk about the front court too, because I do want to talk about that. But first, I just want to get your thoughts. Is this too many freshmen on this team in today's era of college basketball, where roster retention matters and veteran guards matter so much? Is this too much youth for Pitt?
Yes and no. And yes, because you want an older team. I mean, you look, Pitt had an older team
Yeah,
than their starting lineups average age was more or higher than the Oklahoma City Thunders.
right.
So you want an older team. Older teams have statistically done better in recent year. Of course, there's some caveats to that, but that's just the general. You want someone experienced, you want someone experienced in the program. And they do have some pieces with that, and that's a good thing. But that is a lot of young players that you're essentially having a summer, and then they are going on a foreign tour, which does give them extra opportunities to play and practice together, which will benefit them. But I don't know. That's just a lot of guys that you're throwing into a scheme, just a style of play that they're not used to yet. Which some guys adapt to it really fast. I mean, you think of the Brandon Millers of the world, really adapted to.
There ain't no Brandon Miller on this team.
No, I'm just
I
saying
know.
a freshman doing well
Yeah.
is just the first one that came to mind. Kyle Filipowski, whoever you want to say.
Not any of those guys either, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying, a freshman that comes in does really well. I didn't want to use the Wisconsin similarity, but Chucky Hepburn. Okay, here we'll throw that one in. And just someone who comes in and really absorbs it and does a really good job. And I could see some of these guys doing that, absolutely, but a majority of freshmen come in and there's rookie mistakes, and it's just gonna happen. And so I don't like that. What I do like about this is this has the potential to be a solid core moving forward, and that's what I like, because if Capel can really hold on to that retention, hold on to these guys for year to year to year, which is hard to do in this day and age of college basketball. But if he could do that, he's got the capability to have a really strong team and a really strong core. But again, that's just not the reality. So pluses and minuses. I don't love a young team in this day and age, but you've got Henson, you've got Fetty, Austin coming in. You've got some guys to help them out there, and it's not like these freshmen are just. They're talented. What did you say? 4 stars out of that group? So they're good players. It's just how quickly are they going to
adapt? And that's my thing. If this was 1980,
yeah,
Pitt fans should be elated that they have this much young talent. But the reality is, if you have 5 freshmen on your team, you're not going to have 5 sophomores on your team next year. It's just not going to happen. Some of these guys, I mean, a player like Dior Johnson, or even someone like a Papa Kante, or a Jalen Lowe, or a Carl Carrington, a highly rated high school basketball player, a 4-star. Dior was a 5-star at one point. Those guys don't want to be in college for long. They want to go to the league. So if all goes well and all 5 of these freshmen start and you win and you have a successful season, you don't have many of them coming back because a couple of them are going. And if you don't play a lot of them, guess what? They're not sticking around. There's not that balance. It's going to be very difficult to keep these 5 young, super talented kids happy and also find a way to compete. Because like you mentioned, I mean, Blake Hinson is still probably going to be on this team. He has a week to decide if he's going to stay in the NBA draft system or whatever. And I don't anticipate that being the case. But let's assume Blake comes back. And then you assume you have the 2 transfer portal guys with Ishmael Leggett and Zach Austin. And then you have the Diaz-Graham twins. And you have Fetty Federico. There's so much talent here, Abby. But who gets the minutes and who doesn't? It's kind of... And I mean, it's a good thing. Pitt has a good basketball coach. Jeff Capel is the reigning ACC Coach of the Year. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have. But last year kind of worked itself out with injuries and off the court stuff where these were the guys you just had to play, and that's it. But there are going to be guys competing for spots, and when you're trying to replicate a culture that was instrumental in your program's success last year, how are you going to emulate that culture when these dudes are fighting tooth and nail every day at practice against each other for minutes? You've got young guards in the same class trying to get in. And now to transition to what we were originally going to talk about, you've got a front court with 4 dudes who can all do different things and all provide a lot of value. And how do you divide those minutes up, down, low, Abby?
And that's what I was going to say it really, it for lack of a better term, it screws over some of these young guys coming in on your front court, like Papa Kante. How are you competing against Fetty Federico for minutes? The Diaz-Graham twins, who literally stepped in when Fetty was injured to help them win an NCAA tournament game. I worry that Papa Kante doesn't necessarily get as many minutes straight at the gate just because of the people he is up against and how they have, gone on that stage and already proved it. Um, and then he's unhappy at the end of the season. He's like, I'm leaving because that's just the day and age we live in. I think it benefits some of these younger guards that there aren't proven in within Capel's program guards right now. So it benefits them, but it really hurts the wing and the center players. And how are you going to balance that? Because Fetty's a great player. The Diaz Graham twins really stepped up when needed, and I can only assume they've gained more muscle. Hopefully, by the time we get to the season, and I don't know. There's just a lot of talent, and so Capel has to figure out who he wants, who has the best skill set for what they do. Because, like you said, they're all different players and they have a different little bit of styles. And so it's like, do I want this right now? And and how much is it going to be situational based? Like, oh, I really like how Papa Kante matches up against this guy. I really like how Fetty matches up against this guy. You can go down the list, but then it's shortening minutes for some of those other guys. And it's a catch-22 because you do want to load your roster with some really talented guys, and Capel has done that. But now, how do you make them all happy so that you keep them year to year? And I just don't see a way he can do that.
No, and what makes it even more difficult is this would be such an easier resolution if they had the backcourt that has the experience. Yeah. But the fact that you're ushering in these young guards who are going to have to find their own footing, who are going to compete against each other for minutes. Mm-hmm. And oh yeah, you're also going to play a role in seeing how happy the front court is. Yep. How are they going to get all of these guys involved? And I think, the Diaz-Graham twins, they play a similar game. And Kante's game, from everything that I've seen, I haven't watched him play in person yet, but his build and his scouting report is very similar to Fetty Federico. Not the best offensively, very physical down low, probably a little bit more physically developed, but someone who can bang down on that low block, who can run baseline to baseline, athletic and rebound. And I think that that's a great addition for Pitt. And honestly, I think that probably puts him ahead of at least one of the Diaz-Graham twins on the depth chart as far as a genuine backup at the 5 spot. I think you can just play the twins both at the 4 here. Now you have 2 centers, but it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see how they do this. It's almost to a point now where do you think how, like, early on, is it out of the question to expect them to play 9-10 guys in a rotation?
I think absolutely, and I think that's what Capel should do. I think especially when you're playing, some of those non-con games against teams that you likely should be, pretty handedly winning against. That's a great time to experiment, and going as deep down your bench as you need to, as you can, before you get to ACC play, so you kind of have a better idea of what your depth chart looks like. Because again, you can replicate that in practice, sure, but it is so different when you get out on that court. And again, I bring up the fact that they have the foreign tour because that's a great opportunity too to really experiment with things. But by the time January rolls around, you want to know who your 1 through 10 is, who your 1 through 8 is, however many guys you're really going to play. And early in the season is the best time to experiment because even with the foreign tour, you're not getting the same.
No, Fetty's not going to be a part of the foreign tour. Exactly. He's playing in Finland, like.
And that's what I was going to say is this is a great opportunity for the Diaz-Graham twins and Papa Kante to really show what they can do when arguably their biggest competition is gone, and really show Capel, hey, I can carry the load without Fetty here. And the Diaz-Graham twins have done that a little bit already, but it's a great opportunity for them to show. I don't think it takes Fetty out of the running whatsoever. No. Absolutely not. But, I just think it's a wise decision for Capel to try and take advantages. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have a solidified starting lineup until deeper in the season, just because sometimes, like, starting 5, like
I think they have a starting 5. I think it's who comes off the bench.
Well, see,
there are like 6 quality candidates for 6th man right now on this roster.
I just mean, like, maybe you plug in different pieces, like
you've
got this solid however many guys who could be starting. Well, maybe one day I'm going to start this guy over that guy kind of thing. And so I don't think you're going to see just if I'm Capel, I'm gonna try a lot of different things, throw a lot of things at the wall, see what sticks. And maybe that means I have a different starting lineup, and maybe it's just a different starting singular player coming in
Yeah.
early.
I think they can do it. That's the good thing with this depth that they have is they can have lineups with shooters. If you want to try to shoot 43 pointers a game, you put the Twins out there with Blake and 2 point guards, and you could do that. If you want to go big, you could go Kante and Fetty
Mhm.
down low and run like a traditional power forward and center type thing. You can do so much with this team. Like this team's more talented than it was last year, which is
Mhm.
crazy to say considering they had a first team All ACC player, they had the sixth man of the year, they had a second team All ACC player, and they have a guy getting a tryout with the Charlotte Hornets right now in the NBA, and then Greg Elliott, who played a million college basketball games. The fact that they have more talent is very impressive, but this will be a different challenge for
Yeah.
Capel. It's managing young egos. In today's world of college basketball, you won't find many success stories. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very interested. College basketball season's a long ways away. And Abby, the best part about this is there's still one scholarship spot open for Pitt
I
right
wouldn't
now.
be surprised if Capel held on to it though. Just hold on to it, kind of
See, I
see.
disagree. They have one guard that has
That's
played an
fair.
actual college basketball game.
That's fair.
You need to find someone. Even if you go and get someone from like the Patriot League or the Horizon League, some veteran who maybe just wouldn't start or even log minutes for as like an eighth or ninth guy
Yeah, just those
in a
vets, kind
rotation. But
of.
you need someone who's played in a college basketball game
Yeah,
aside from Ishmael Leggett. Because if he goes down, your whole entire backcourt is
just
completely
freshman.
raw. Yeah, in the ACC, which is not necessarily what you want when you see the guys that Duke and North Carolina and Miami and Virginia are returning. You
Well,
want some experience.
because
So,
that's the thing too, and you definitely want that, and it's good. I mean, I don't know whether you would want less experience in your front court or your back court, but when you look at the players who are returning, a lot of these players that are returning um, are more bigger guys, as in
yeah.
like bigs, and so it's good that I guess the one benefit to Capel having a deluge of just absolute beasts on the front court is that you want experienced guys because you're going to be playing experienced bigs, and at least
Yeah,
he has that. He has that.
Fetty ain't taking the ball up with 2 minutes left in the
Well,
ACC
that's what I'm
tournament.
saying. I'm saying front court. I'm saying front court.
I know,
So
but I mean, even Blake's gonna be fouled out by then. So it. No, I'm just kidding. No disrespect to Blake, but that's the thing. Like, I don't think he's holding on to that scholarship personally. I mean, I don't have any inside information. The last three guys they've gone after have already committed before they
mhm.
could even get him on campus for a visit because it's a tough sell. I
Yeah,
mean, who are you going to convince to come in and best case scenario, you're a sixth man on this team or a seventh man. At this point, you're probably a seventh or an eighth man with the potential to be replaced. We're going to need 4 practices to find out that this 4-star is better than you, and maybe you don't play at all. So,
yeah.
like, who are you going to get to go there? But, like, they need to fill that spot. So,
Fair.
not a terrible problem to have. And like I said, if this was 1980, the fact that they have all these high profile freshmen and they're all big men, people would be going nuts. Pitt would be the number 1 team in the country. But in today's modern era of college basketball, this could create a lot more problems than it could blessings. And it's going to be really fun to see how it all plays out.
In today's modern era of college basketball, bracketologists do not have Pitt going to
No,
the tournament,
they
and
have
they're gonna.
Duquesne.
It's just on paper. You don't know.
No, they don't. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It certainly will be fun to watch. But Abby, any final thoughts here as we wrap up the show?
Nope. Nope. I'm
Nope.
I'm good.
I got one final thought. It is 2
Oh
words.
my god.
Go Hounds, baby. Unleash the Hounds. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And follow us on all social media platforms. We'll have more Pittsburgh Sports Talk on the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel. Take care.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down in the description.